0 o'clock. Oh, the conference room went dead silent the moment my father's voice cracked through the speakerphone. The food. It never arrived. Around 20 relatives sat frozen at the Thanksgiving table, confusion spreading like a shockwave. My aunt's gaze locked onto mine, confused at first, then slowly shifting into understanding. I leaned against my kitchen counter miles away and said calmly, "Oh, I didn't think you needed me this year." That was the moment everything changed. That my father's breathing shifted on the other end. My mother's voice cut in sharply. What does she mean by that? Because the family that didn't think I was important enough to invite had still been perfectly happy to let me pay for everything. And now they were about to understand what being unneeded actually meant. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 34 seconds. Thanksgiving had always been family tradition, at least on the surface. The one day of the year where everyone pretended the history between us didn't exist. Forced smiles over cooked turkey. Wine poured over old resentment. I'm the eldest of 3. But growing up, I wasn't treated like a child. I was treated like backup parenting. Cooking, cleaning, babysitting. The responsible one. The useful one. Never the favorite. My siblings were the golden children. I was the one who kept things running. So even after moving out, I still showed up. Still helped. Still paid when asked. Because that's what family does, right? At least. That's what I believed. O:1:0 for everything cracked a week before Thanksgiving. I saw the group chat, everyone excited, plans being made. I replied like normal. Then silence. Later, a private message from my cousin hit me like ice water. Wait, are you actually coming? Your parents said you weren't invited. I stared at the screen, confused, then called my mother. Her voice was soft, carefully rehearsed. We thought it would be easier this year. Less tension, Dad, as if I was the problem. I asked the obvious question, my voice tightening. So my brother is invited. My sister too. Yes, she said quickly. Just immediate family. Then she added, we didn't think you'd mind. That was the moment I realized something far worse than exclusion. They still expected me to contribute. Because not only had I been uninvited, I had also been assigned to pay for the entire meal, the turkey, the desserts, everything. Under my name, 0 hours to minutes and 55 seconds. So I made a decision. I canceled every order. The butcher refunded instantly. The bakery hesitated but eventually processed it. And then I waited. Thanksgiving. They arrived 12:17 p.m. My phone lit up. My father. I let it ring a few times before answering. His voice was already panicked. The food didn't arrive. I stayed quiet a moment, then asked almost gently, didn't it? I know you ordered it. He snapped. A pause. Oh, I said lightly. I didn't think you needed me. 0 hours, 3 minutes, and 35 seconds. The silence on the other end was immediate. I could hear chaos in the background, raised voices. Confusion, guests realizing something was wrong. An hour later, my cousin texted me everything. No turkey. No desserts. Stores closed. Panic setting in. My sister crying. My mother locked in the bathroom. My father trying to explain something he couldn't fix because suddenly everyone was asking the same question. Wait, wasn't she supposed to handle all this? 0 hours, 4 minutes, and 19 seconds. 3 days later, my mother sent a message. We missed you at Thanksgiving. Hope we can move past this. Not an apology, a reset button. I didn't reply, but the story had already escaped their control. My aunt called later. Some relatives were questioning what actually happened. For the first time, my parents weren't fully believed. So they changed strategy. Now I was unstable, overreacting, difficult, and apparently, I had ruined Thanksgiving. 0 hours, 5 minutes, and 38 seconds. My father called again. You embarrassed your mother, he said sharply. I laughed once. It came out colder than I expected. I thought she didn't want me there. His tone tightened. This wasn't a big deal. That line hit something inside me. Not a big deal. I repeated. Then why are you calling me about it? I hung up. My hands were shaking. 0 hours, 6 minutes, and 13 seconds. By Christmas, The narrative had spread, so I showed up, late, quiet, and I wasn't alone. I walked in beside my grandmother, my mother's estranged mother. The room went still because she wasn't supposed to be part of the story anymore, but she was, and she smiled like she had never been erased. Oh, she said lightly, looking around. So this is where everyone hides. My mother went pale instantly. 0 hours 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Dinner was unbearable in the most satisfying way. Every forced smile cracked under my grandmother's presence. Every attempt at normal conversation collapsed under unspoken history. And slowly, people started noticing the pattern, the missing details. The rewritten memories, the truth underneath the performance. And for the first time, I wasn't the only one seeing it. 0 hours 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Days later, the messages started. Some defensive, some confused, some questioning everything. My mother had escalated the story again. Now I was disturbed, not thinking clearly. So I did something simple. I sent one message to the entire family group chat. I'm doing fine. No issues, no breakdowns. Hope everyone is well. No emotion. No openings. Nothing to twist. 0 hours 9 minutes and 9 seconds. Then something unexpected happened. My brother texted me. Can we talk? When we spoke, his voice was quiet. I didn't agree with what happened, he admitted. I just didn't know how to say it. That was the first crack, not victory, but truth starting to leak through silence. 0 hours 10 minutes and 38 seconds. A few days later, my mother called, demanded I come for dinner. I almost didn't go, but I did. And when I walked in, the air was heavy like everyone already knew this wouldn't end cleanly. My mother spoke. First, you embarrassed me. That was her version of events. Not what happened, what she felt. And that difference mattered. 0 hours 12 minutes and 2 seconds. We argued. Then my brother spoke up. You did exclude her silence. My father hesitated, then admitted quietly. We handled it badly, and suddenly, the structure they had built started collapsing under its own honesty. Then my mother finally said it, not as blame. As truth. I didn't want to look like the bad one. That was the real confession, not cruelty. Fear. 00 to 13:59. And everything changed in that moment, not because anyone was forgiven, but because the truth was finally visible. I stood up. I'm done. I said simply. No shouting. No performance. Just clarity. You didn't just exclude me. You rewrote me to protect yourselves. No one answered, because there was nothing left to argue. 0:15:16 in the weeks after, I stepped back. Less contact. More distance. Not revenge. Just space. And slowly, something surprising happened. My brother started questioning things too. My aunt stayed supportive. My grandmother stayed steady. And for the first time, I realized something important. I wasn't isolated. I had just been the only one refusing to pretend. 0 hours 16 minutes and 27 seconds. If you've ever been the one who sees the pattern while everyone else plays along, you know how lonely that feels. But boundaries aren't punishment, they're clarity. And sometimes the empty chair at the table isn't rejection. It's the first time you finally chose yourself.